Hello and welcome to Rise and Shine with Alissa. I am your hostess, the Bakar, Alissa Bakar, the consultress. Man, how did I mess up my own bow? Anyway, Rise and Shine was a conversation born of wanting to bring cool, amazing, innovative conversation to the age of disruption where nothing's going back to normal. Everything's new and up for review. And guess what? The consumer mentality and industrial age thinking is dying. We're all looking for ways to innovate, appreciate, and live, love, and be better in business and in life. So here we address investor mindset, entrepreneurialism, and parenting as three of our main focuses because these are some of the expansive places that I have found have permitted me to grow as much as I have. So I have the privilege and pleasure of speaking with Ms. Jess Jorgensen today. Welcome to Rise and Shine.
Thank
I
you
am
so
so
much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we jammed out in the green room, so we are like fresh and ready to go.
Yes.
Um, we share a passion for music and adventure, and we met once upon a digital networking space, but the beacon was clear that we were birds of a feather. So I did a little bit of digging, like, hey, who are you? What are you up to? What are you about? And came to find out that you travel pretty much wherever you want, whenever you want, and it's part of your business. So tell us how that either comes about or how that shows up best for you in your work and life balance.
Sure. I'm a technology nerd in that I've always utilized technology to help me reach my goals and others do the same. And the goal that I had was to not be trapped in the city any longer after the youngest of my seven children was ready to, go off and live her adult life. I was rather bored, if we're being honest, about all the things and activities I had done in addition to my corporate technology job. Were kind of that adventure, if you will, was kind of coming to a close. I was a little bit bored, and I said, you know what? We have the technology for us to work anywhere. Why are we here? Why are we stuck here in this huge house that doesn't serve us really anymore? Let's take these adventures on the road. And thankfully, my husband said yes and was very excited to do the same thing. So we've been out traveling for the last 2.5 years, working remotely. He still has a very corporate job. I am focused on Go Roam Tech so I can help others do similar things to what I am. And we literally just get to choose where we want to be and how we want to explore those areas. So it's been a whirlwind of the last couple years and just learning about the people and the nature. Those are the things that really stick to me when we travel. We meet such incredible folks all over the country, and we get to see nature in its best time. So we very specifically chose to, explore the South in the fall so we could see the fall colors. And also like be in the spring to get on the lakes and rivers and do some water stuff. So we just are like teenagers again because we started our family really young. Both of us started very young, and we have a blended family now. And we never really had the opportunity to just run around and do the things that most young folks get to do in their early 20s because we had kids to take care of. So we're just now, behaving in the same way as our kids. We're going to concerts, we're hiking, we're boating, we are, doing all the things that make us happy, including a lot of off-roading. We love to get on a mountain trail or a desert trail and just see how far we can get in the Can-Am.
I mean, you're living the dream. So I love the essence of everything that you've said because I believe it's where my husband and I, when we first met, it was like fast and furious from single to living together to kids to marriage. And, we're at the cusp of that now, having done all the adventuring with our kids, give us another couple of years and we're going to be like teenagers again. So I
Mhm.
appreciate the embodiment of that adventure lifestyle because I think it's, near and dear to my heart. Plus, when you visit other places and you get different perspectives, you get to expand your worldview. Some of the things that divide us seem like ancillary, don't they? They just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
start to melt away. It's like, well, we have more in common than we actually have as differentiators. So in your travels, as you know, go from place to place looking for great food, great music, great experiences, and great people, what are some of those similarities that you've been able to kind of enjoy?
Well, I think that I attract a lot of folks who are very kind inherently, and that is across the board, across the world, right? I think that um, we have learned about uh, helping each other support local communities. That has been absolutely priceless. And our focus on um, not feeding consumerism in the ways that a lot of folks tend to do, especially towards the end of every year and the holidays come up. We have very intentionally shifted our focus to what can we buy from someone local, what can we buy from a farm stand, how are we supporting the communities that we travel to, and those people that we meet through that are so kind. They want to help each other out. They are down for having a good time in really fun ways. But like you said, we are all far more the same than we are different. And sometimes, as an example, we rolled up to a open mic bluegrass potluck in Arkansas. We were
Wow.
very out of place, we just decided that that was something we wanted to do, and so we are open to having new experiences, and we aren't fearful of being awkward in a situation or something. So we tend to roll up, in our big loud truck and our our chairs and our coolers and whatever, and we always get a few looks, but we always stop and chat with people, and they are so happy that we're there, so happy that we found a way to get to that spot and to spread the word. I feel like these small communities are really just like crying for help and yelling for someone to find them, because they understand how vast the world is, especially for travelers like us that are coming in, but they don't know how to get a hold of them. They don't know how to communicate with them. So it's really cool to further that for them, and also to get to understand what makes them tick. The folks in Arkansas have very different priorities than the folks than Tennessee did. They were all to live a better, calmer kind of life. But once you get outside of the city, man, folks are just not so aggressive.
Oh my God, listen. Okay, you can take the girl out of New York, but you
Right.
can't take the New York out of the girl. I moved out to the country, and everybody's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're from the city," and I was like, "No, I'm from the suburbs. I don't know what you mean by city, because to me, city is like city."
Hmm.
But listening to the types of things that were important in the family values, I started to naturally just sink into the almost readily available connectivity that everybody knows something about, or someone that can take care of whatever it is that you need. And I started to realize how my nervous system was actually calming down as a baseline. Now, I
Hmm.
didn't move from like the center of Manhattan. I moved from the suburbs out in Long Island, but still the same energy of like hustle, bustle, and like, everything's got to be fast and efficient. And I still have a measure of that. I want things to be effective and efficient, but the noise in my like all the things I had to consider to make decisions, it feels like half of that's gone just because I'm living in a space that literally and figuratively has less noise and chaos around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I do love and appreciate the fact that people are more willing to just stop and say, "Hey, can I help you?" Or, "Hey, what do you
Hmm.
need?" And I that was very, so I went to school in near Philadelphia, and I was there for 9/11. And that was almost like when the world stopped for the first time in my lifetime, and people were just kind to each other, period.
Hmm.
There was all this like brotherly love literally in the streets, everyone bonding together. And I just thought, hey, this is really cool. Like, you take away all the distractions and have everybody just kind of stop and appreciate what they really have. And it was incredible. And that happened in cities everywhere. So it's not
Yeah.
that it isn't present when you live in the city. It's just harder to access because it's a more silent virtue. It doesn't
Yep.
scream for attention like the way all the chaos and the busy and the hustling does,
Yep.
but it's always there if you look for it. So there's an opportunity here if you're in that mind space, having chaos rule your world, or being super productive, efficient, etc., because
Yeah.
progress can also be an addiction, right? The having that space of mind to say, I'm going to take time to be silent, and
Hmm.
it's like the world opens up where you do find all those similarities. And
Yep.
so when we met, I heard you say I could work from the bottom of a canyon where there's no cell service.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I need that in my life. And what
Yes.
a great
Yes.
experience to be able to be connected and also to be in the middle of nowhere. And so,
Yeah.
like, that's kind of the life you're leading as an entrepreneur in your own right. So, tell me a little bit about, that piece that helps to fund all of your
Oh yeah.
exploration.
Absolutely. Well, the it's really uh in a technical term, magic. But it
Right.
is, but we utilize, every business that has to be in business all the time has multiple internet connections in this day and age. The reason is because everybody sucks sometimes. Every carrier has outages. They all have issues. And we knew that in order to maintain this lifestyle and our jobs, thankfully working for technology companies, they're very, they also utilize the same technology. So what we did was we said, listen, we want to make sure we have like bulletproof internet. So we utilize a connection from Starlink satellite, which is the best satellite on the network today. There are some other up and coming ones, but we take that as one point of connectivity. Secondarily, we take another point of connectivity, which is a multi-carrier SIM card. And so I have a SIM card in my router that connects to AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, depending on which one's going to give us the best throughput, the best signal at that point. So we've got these two, seemingly normal connections, but the magic is in the middle where we program our routers to take both of those connections and utilize them for things like broadcasting in a Zoom meeting so that they are bonded and connect and sending duplicate packets if they have to when things get jammed up. So the thing that most remote workers struggle with is Starlink on its own is a fantastic, internet scenario for most people, but sometimes the latency is bad and you'll get jitter and you'll have problems with Microsoft Teams or Zoom. Anything that is video heavy is going to be like the worst thing to try to run on your network if it's not great. So we use a bunch of different algorithms to say, hey, if this happens, then use this circuit. We've got a lot of expertise in the back end from how we program these units so that they just work flawlessly. We pull up, we put up our Starlink, and we are good to go. We don't have to think about it. We configure it in ways that don't overuse our data on our SIM cards when we want to watch TV that relies on the Starlink, right? So I'm not going to pretend like we don't do the same normal things that most people do after work on a Wednesday when it's been a real stressful week. Sometimes we sit down and, watch TV. Like we need to chill out, especially in the winter when it's too cold to be outside next to a bonfire, which we can't often have. But the point was, I never want to have to worry about it. And that's what we do for our clients as well, as we provide a combination of gear and services to ensure that they just get to go explore and they can spend their time planning for where they want to go, not where they'll have service and might want to go, if that makes sense. So there's really
Yep.
two approaches to planning travel when you live this way. It's, do I stick to the places that are, pretty close to civilization, if you will, where I'm going to have good cell service, or do I go straight into the nature? And by having both of those internet connections that feed our one router, we can really go wherever we want to. It doesn't matter if there's great cell phone coverage because our Starlink will kick in, or great Starlink coverage because in the East Coast, that's not as great as it is out West. Then our LTE coverage can pick up, and pretty much everybody's, got some signal there. I can't create signals where there are none. So there are places in the US still that you might struggle with LTE service, but they're getting fewer and further between. So that's a good thing. But yeah, canyons, those are my favorite, like outside of Silverton, Colorado. It's kind of fun when we camp with folks and we're like the internet cafe because they know we got the juice. So
Yeah.
we'll see them outside. If we're in a campground, they know that we're working. We'll see them kind of, you start to gather in the morning with their cup of coffee, kind of waiting for us to turn the internet on so that they can, check in with their folks and stuff. That's always a fun thing as well. So, it's really just like evaluating the tools, and we're tech nerds, so we obviously went that route, but what are the tools we need to live life the way we want to live? And this is the way that we were able to conquer the internet and the connectivity problem.
I love that you were like, hey, there's two approaches here. You can plan
Yeah.
your travel around where you know you'll have signal, or you can plan to have signal wherever you are. And for those adventurous folks who really want to go into the canyons and go deep and go wide into places that are, less traveled, I
Yeah.
think that's a really great option to know that there is a service that exists that can do that. And so, like, you can literally go roam. And I
Yes.
dig that that's the name of your platform and that you've designed here, um, and that you're a tech nerd. Like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, for people who are techie and also like living the damn dream. I thought that I was techie until I had kids, and then now they're teenagers, and obviously they know better than me because that's the phase of life that they're in where they think they know
Hmm.
everything, and that's great. But literally, I can just hand my stuff off and be like, "Can you figure this out?" Because for a long time as an entrepreneur, I thought as the technology was evolving, I thought like I had to do it all because I was able to do it all. That was like the biggest and most curious growth curve for me as I
Mm.
expanded and grew over the last decade plus. I was like, well, I can automate my own emails. Well, I can use a CRM. Well, I can, and I had all of these new things to learn that kept me chief cook and bottle washer. However, I wouldn't recommend it now from where I sit because knowing that there's people who can give you more of what you need who are better at it than you are and can go and help you implement in a way that's 10x what you could do on your own. Like, this is why I love the ideation and implementation of meeting entrepreneurs that are out there doing fascinating things. Because I know
Yeah.
now I don't have to do it all because I've met people who are far better at most of the shit that I was pretending to be good at.
Oh my gosh. It is such a like, it's such an expensive and eye-opening lesson, right? Like, so,
Yes.
every piece of that I've come to, I think too, coming from a corporate background, I never had to do all of the things. So when I looked at all of the things that needed to be done, I was like, well, I'm capable of doing these things. Absolutely. Am I the best at many of them? Absolutely not. But giving up that control, right? Like, Go Roam is my baby. Like, I created it. And to give even a fraction of it into someone else's hands is like one of the biggest, like, it's freeing and also terrifying. It's always like every time you add someone to the team, if you will, there's that layer of, if I just do this, it takes me X amount of time, but I have to spend all this time teaching someone how I would do it. Like, is it worth it kind of scale? It's always worth it, by the way, in my
Yeah.
experience, as when you find those right people and you bring them on. But man, it's hard to give some of that stuff up. I'm still learning. That's an evolution for me, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like all of the social media stuff, and like, I want to be outside playing. I don't want to spend hours editing videos. Like, I want to share with you guys what the cool stuff that we do, so that you know where to go to find the best wildflowers in Colorado, and that kind of stuff. But it takes a lot of time to do those things. So I'm grateful to have learned, and am working on handing off some of that stuff so that it can still get out there and people can still enjoy it, but it's not me controlling all of that, because I'm a terrible critic.
Oh, unbelievable. So those of us who have struck out onto our own turf and hung that shingle on our proverbial door, we start out as control freaks.
Yes.
There's this book I love. Yeah, it's right here. Um, it's one of my like easy go-to on my shelf, The E-Myth revisited,
Mm-hmm.
because we all start out in our own business
Yeah.
as the technician, the one who knows what we know, and we know how to execute the business. We know how to take things from start to finish, deliver the value. We're talking to people. We learn how to become the sales face of the business. And at some point, wearing all those hats starts to make your head heavy, and it starts to become tiresome and gives you fatigue and freaking brain fog. You thought mom brain was
Mm-hmm.
bad. Holy shit, man. Like when you get fatigued because you're doing too many things, you're being a freaking tactical octopus, don't do it, because you're
Yep.
getting lost in the technician phase of your business rather than transcending that investment of time. It's not a waste of time. Like that technician in us wants to talk about how much time it takes to do something. If I let somebody else do it, it's going to take them 3 times as long. I could do it myself. It'll be done, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. I'm like, but then you have to do it every time. And if you don't
Yep.
invest in that other person, maybe they've got better ideas how to innovate, because we can only see it from our perspective of what's always worked. When I hired my ops maven, like she's fantastic. She runs the back end of my business. She was able to innovate and iterate faster than me once she got up to speed. That took us a couple of months doing
Mm-hmm.
certain things to try to like build a rapport and language where we shared it. But like I have been through administrators before, and I wanted somebody that could speak my language who could do it better than me. But it took me a long time to recognize that I wanted someone on my team who could do it better than me.
Yeah. Oh
But you
yeah,
have to let go.
absolutely. Yeah, it took me to, near burnout, honestly, to be like, okay, I had to take a step back, say, I'm going to restructure all the things so that I
Yeah.
can, really understand what I enjoy, what brings me joy in my business, what I want to do, how I want to, live each day, because otherwise it's, you know, 14-hour days, 6 days a week, trying to get all the things done. And that's just no way to have an adventure. I can tell you that.
Yep. Yep. And the things that frustrate us because we're not awesome at it are the things that we
Hmm.
must delegate.
Yeah.
Because you might be an 8 across the board and a 9 and a 10 in the areas you really love. And it's hard to give up something you're an 8 at. For me,
Yeah.
I always learned businesses from the operational side, looking for efficiencies, looking for systematic ways to improve. It's still a big part of the value that I deliver to my clients. And I realized that if I continued to execute from that mindset, I was going nowhere fast. I was
Yeah.
dying, not growing. So, that releasing of the identity of someone that has to do everything, because, what is the saying? Like, if you want something done right, do it yourself. You gotta
Not
let
if you're
that
asking
go.
me. Yeah, for sure.
That very much
For
was
sure.
me and my family growing up. Yep.
Yep. And I
And
think it was for me too, which is why I held so closely to it. When I was young, my parents were both entrepreneurs. I saw them in their respective businesses. And when I was younger in my career, in a high corporate tech world, often people would come to me like, "Why don't you just go out on your own? Why don't you just do this yourself?" I'm like, "Well, it's a lot of hard work," which I know, right? So, like, it's funny to me that I finally decided it was, time for me to do that. At the same time, I decided to go, to sell, put our house up for rent, to go on the road full time. Like I don't do small things, right? I just went all for it. Like, you know, let's start a lifestyle of complete travel all the time. In addition, I'm starting a new business that supports that travel, which is huge and great. But also let's learn all about living a new life and also start a new business. I wouldn't recommend, but it's just what you have to do sometimes. And it's good. I'm grateful to have the ability to like stop and reflect and be okay. This is working, this is not working. And actually it's towards, the end of 2024. So I'll be doing this again pretty shortly. Usually like mid-December, I kind of sit down and say, okay, well, these are the things that worked well. These are the things that I would like to improve. And who can I find to help me improve those things is the new mindset now versus how can I improve these things? Because what I have found is that the more I work on me, the better my business grows. Outside of the delegations,
High
everything
five.
else, the more I work on me, the better my business is. I mean, I I created this lifestyle for liberty, right? In the truest sense, which I get to go where I want to go and basically do what I want to do. And in the month of July, I had so much going on. I needed to be gone for an entire week. I had two kids that were getting married. It was a wild summer. I basically had delegated to the point of being able to take most of the month of July off personally. My business still grew, it still was profitable, and I didn't have to be involved. And that's why we do this, right? So that we can have that kind of passive, like, I don't have to be in control and over all of the things. Like, that was really a big eye opener for me. Like, okay, I can take a step back and things are continuing. So now I have an even more um, delegated kind of lens to look at those things through as I come to the end of this year. And a lot of that also for me is language. That you were saying, one of the things that's hardest to learn is coming from the very technical IT advisory role that I still have and maintain today. My ability to communicate with the folks that are also on the road who don't need to know all of the magic behind the scenes has been like a big adaptation for me, because I was used to explaining all the bytes and bits and whys to, CIOs and directors of big corporate technology folks. And I had to learn how to just like not scare people with all that shit.
Yeah. So, and I'm loving and digging the fact that like you had to change how you communicate in order to provide the actual value that you're delivering, because the people who need it don't speak the language of the people who provide it. And
Right.
that was what, to me, that was the transition I went through when I went from entrepreneur consumer mentality, not entrepreneur consumer mentality, but into investor mentality. I started looking at things from the investor mindset, and real estate really was what opened my eyes to like, oh, there's ways to make money that don't require me to be active in the business all the time, and it'll just continue to work. This is what my father did when he built the retail food establishments. He
Hmm.
truly built businesses where he could walk away, had management and operations and distribution in place so that, he was the break fix guy. He was available if he needed to be,
Yeah.
but that's the true meaning of like owning a business. And
Hmm.
there are those of us that start out with, I just want to do my own thing. I want to be the business. I want to be the service provider, which is awesome. And it took my involvement in real estate to realize that I can still be a service provider and be a business owner, not just
Yeah.
a someone who owns a job. And that distinction
Yeah.
is something I'm still digging into this day. How
Yep.
do I scale my visibility and vulnerability without being one on one or one to a few? And, how do I help make that impact for people that want the passive income through real estate? But then I'm backing in, and how do you create passive income in your active business? And that's what I love
Yeah.
about what you have done, is you're creating something that's very active and also doesn't require you to be there. And I think
Yeah.
that's on top of like traveling and living the dream. Like these are some of the ways that like you're friggin' nailing it. So I want to just like high five you and
Yes.
ask
Yes.
where people can go to find out more about you and your business, so that they can look you up and maybe hire you for some of the stuff that you provide.
You bet. The best place is my website. It is goroam.tech. There's a place you can contact me there. You can sign up for our newsletter there. That's so much like you. Our focus in providing content in a newsletter fashion is obviously the technology. And there's some tech tips of the month, right? Not everybody needs all the things that I do. And if you don't have the kind of job that requires you to be on video all the time, I can still help you figure out what's best. The other thing is food, right? We are such foodies. I mentioned, finding local farm stands. I'm doing, things. I talk to people all the time and they're like, I can't believe you're doing that from your RV, like canning, right? Like I made a whole bunch of cowboy candy, um pickled some peppers. I make sourdough bread. Like I do normal things just because I live in an RV, but food is king. That's my creative hobby. Also we give some tips about like RV life and route planning and things of that nature, but our main focus is food, travel, and technology. So there's always a little bit of something for everybody in our newsletters as well. So that's a really fun thing I've gotten to work on, because that's really personal for me. I did a lot of YouTube stuff and social media things, and I felt like I would rather write and have one-on-one engagements because of that criticalness, right? That's the evolution of this. Like, if I have to pick all the things, what are the things I'm most comfortable with? And I love delivering content via email, and it'll soon be on social media again as well. But for the most part, our newsletters are where the good stuff is happening.
Yeah, I think everybody should rush and sign up for that right now. In fact, that's what I will do as soon as we get off of here, because we've been connected for a while, and you're still not in my inbox, and that's on me.
Yeah.
So everybody, follow me. We're gonna go subscribe. And in the meantime, thank you so much, Jess, for coming and having this conversation with me today and allowing the rest of the world to peek in to your world. We broadcast Rise and Shine every single Monday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss another episode. Share this with a friend. So click subscribe and leave us a comment down below so we can understand what you're vibing with. So the next time I bring this gorgeous human on the podcast, we know what more you want to talk about and that we can bring to you. So cheers for now. Happy
Cheers.
day, happy month, happy week, and we will see you next time, friends. Same bat time, same bat channel. Adios.